This is an interview that I've wanted to do for a long time, partly because when I see you, whether you're performing or not performing, you make me feel like I'm family. And I think that the audience feels that way too. Madisen Ward and the Mama Bear, thanks for coming in today.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, Madisen Ward and the Mama Bear, Madisen Ward and Ruth Ward. New EP on Glassnote, The Radio Winners, is out on vinyl this Friday. Have you gotten to hold it in your hands yet?
We haven't.
Yeah.
We haven't. For all I know, it doesn't.
Nice.
For all I know, it doesn't actually exist. But I'm looking forward to actually having it and being able to, have something tangible to put on the record player. So,
we're really looking forward to the date that's coming up. You're opening for the record company September 25th over at the Madrid. The Radio Winners, one of the things when I was getting ready for the interview that just stopped me dead in my tracks, and I'm assuming that you probably saw this, but the Chicago Sun-Times said that it's a contender for Album of the Year.
yeah.
It scared me half to death. I don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, it was amazing. We just, I never know what to do with one of those sort of, headlines, but it's like we always say, from his lips to God's ears.
Yeah. So the first record that was such a revelation to everyone's Skeleton Crew, there were a few adornments, but basically was tracked live, the two of you facing each other, no click track, is about as honest and as naked as a recording can be. This one, I think people were a little bit surprised by the additional production value.
Yeah, definitely. I know that our team, we all sort of wanted to take things to another level, and it took a while to sort of figure out what that would sound like if it came from a Americana folk duo, what going to another level would sound like without abandoning all creative instincts or whatever. So it was a journey trying to figure out how to make that sound just feel very natural to us, but recording music is a very unnatural thing. So anytime we're behind microphones in a studio, it's hard to make it feel comfortable for us. But we finally just put our career and everything into other people's hands and said, let's all make something together. So
That's true, and plus having excellent producers with Ryan Hadlock and Nathan Chapman. It was from Nashville. Ryan is from Seattle. They are good people to work with.
And they sort of warmed up for you by working with some emerging artists like Taylor Swift and the Lumineers.
yeah, I hear she's going to make it big one day, and we'll see what happens.
And Adele.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
With
Jim Abbas.
Yeah, Jim Abbas from Skeleton Crew.
That sort of sense of taking a deep breath and here we go. You all have had a lot of that.
Oh yeah. It's always been this. Everything's always happened before we could have a chance to process it. So we never really have a lot of. I never have a huge connection with the things as they're happening. It's always in hindsight where you can look back and see, how crazy some of the stuff that we were able to do actually was.
Really.
These two studios experiences, I think, were very different. I mean, one of them was essentially a barn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but beautiful area.
A beautiful barn.
Well, it was a beautiful barn. It was at this place called Bear Creek, out in the wooded area of Seattle, and we loved it. And the temperature was incredible. It was 90 here and 60 degrees there. Within about a couple days in, somebody said that they saw a bear somewhere. So I don't know.
It changed everything.
It didn't feel too. Yeah. I was like, tell me there's a bear before. Put that on the brochure, then we'll find out if we want to go.
So you did Childhood Goodbye and did really a spectacular video for it. 650,000 artists have signed up for Hit Record. I'd never heard of it until you utilized it for the video. Can you explain this?
Yeah, well, I used to, back a long time ago, and I say a long time ago, a while back, when I used to work in a photo color lab, and I worked night shifts, and there was, I was alone with, no windows, and it was a interesting place for a creative, brain, but also it was, you sort of could come up with a lot of things in that sort of isolation working alone, and I found this website that Joseph Gordon-Levitt had made, the actor, and it was all these artists sort of coming together to make this creative content and remixing each other's content. And whenever I would get off work, it would be like 2:30 a.m., 3 a.m., everybody's asleep. It was a perfect outlet for just creating whatever I wanted, as bizarre as I wanted, and I would just put it out there. And it started gaining momentum, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt got a hold of it and started, giving us a bunch of support. And whenever we finally got signed to a label, he said, hey, here's one of these artists from Hit Record, go out and check them out. And so it always felt like a really nice camaraderie between us and that website. So we thought it would be a great idea to make the last video that we did with them, and they got on board and said, hey, your family, come on in and let's do it. And that was back in 2010 whenever I first got on the site. So it's been like an 8-year relationship.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of your early gigs were at a coffee shop on Independence Square. So
Yes.
you went back to Independence Square, not to the coffee shop, but to Clinton's, probably because it had a better tie to childhood, maybe?
Well, it was closer.
Yeah, it's only 5 minutes from my house.
Didn't have to drive far. No, it was, it was beautiful. I hadn't been there since I was really, really young. I heard later Harry S. Truman worked there or something like that, which I thought was amazing. But we thought it'd be a good visual sort of for who we are, where we come from, and just kind of staying true to us in that sense.
Well, we've been talking for a while, and I know everybody would love to hear some music. Madison Ward and the Mama Bear in the Bridge Studios.
We sat at tables like kings did. We thought that we knew it all. We sat beside an old fire truck, wondering if this life would be more than enough. And everybody's got problems, don't you want mine? Everybody's got a place to stay. Everybody's got problems, don't you need mine? Everybody's got a place to stay. Oh, da, da, da. Everyone's searching the same thing, looking for answers they need. But what good's an answer when life's a good mystery? You're not the first one to cry when we bleed. But everybody's got problems, don't you want mine? Everybody's got a place to stay. Everybody's got problems, don't you need mine? Everybody's got a place to stay. Oh, da, 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 to stay. Oh, da, da, da. Everybody knows there's some kind
Everybody's Got Problems, Madison Ward, the Mama Bear Live in the Bridge Studios. That was quite lovely. You want to introduce the band?
Yeah, this is Bryce Veazey playing guitar here with us. He's joined in here recently, and this is Tom Hudson on the drums over here, and this is Brent Kassler playing bass, and this is Mama Bear, a.k.a. Ruth Ward, a.k.a. my mother, and I'm Madison Ward.
You know, you mentioned Bryce right off the bat, and you know, Bryce actually is a former Bridge employee.
I heard.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He keeps making the mistake of coming back. You know, we love that. Yeah.
Did you get fired, Bryce?
Just graduated.
I'll show them.
Not only is he playing guitar for you today, but you produced the video for Everybody's Got Problems, but Bryce directed it.
Correct. Me and Bryce have actually done some of that same hit record stuff that we were talking about before. And we've sort of just become like creative buddies as far as working on different videos. He's got a great production company called Major Oak Productions, and people go check it out. And we make a lot of real fun stuff together. And there's also content that we haven't released that we look forward to sharing with everybody. But a lot of different video work, and yeah,
it's very cool. You know, Ruth, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about growing up.
Really?
Yeah. You were well, you know, you're sort of you're where this tree grew from, right? It's a beautiful tree.
Thank you.
I love trees. So, South Bend, Indiana.
Yes.
And you started out, you loved, blues, Motown, 60s soul and all of that. But your brother introduced you to singer-songwriters, and I'm assuming that it was the lyrical content that moved you to start to embrace some of the folkier side.
I think it was a combination of it all. I think, you grow up kind of what your parents like to listen to and whatever. And then when I was in high school, I started hearing listening to people playing the guitar, and he turned me on to like Peter, Paul and Mary and Crosby, Stills and Nash. Awesome. Hey, where did this come from? So I started really listening to it more and thoroughly embraced it. And I still have a little R&B still left in me and little other things, but I'm really more of the Americana folk, more of what we're doing, and just, I don't know, it's just in me.
You know, famously, your first producer would shout out, "This is genreless," during the recording of Skeleton Crew, and I think that's one of the lovely things. 18 years old, you fled South Bend, went to
Well, you know all about
to Arizona, New Mexico, and that's when you really started picking up the guitar.
Yes, I did. I started picking it up when I was 19 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I remember this guy, because I loved to sing, but I couldn't play, and I would have different musicians play a song and I'll sing to it, on the guitar. And so I thought, I need to learn to play it myself. So I started trying to learn, and this one guy said, "You'll never learn to play." That's all I needed. I needed a challenge. So I did learn to play. But yeah, I left home and just started playing music and got to grow up. When you leave home, you grow up, and you can grow up fast. But I didn't get into a lot of junk, but I did grow up.
Yeah, just enough to have some fun. So the guitar opened up songwriting to you, too.
It sure did. Yes, it did. Very much so.
So, that period was quickly followed by, you moved around a lot.
Yes, I did.
Kansas City, a bunch of different places. You were playing Chicago for a while. Along the way, you picked up a husband, recorded a couple albums.
I picked up
Just grabbed
just
the husband at the getting
car
place.
barely
I went to the
slowed down.
supermarket and grabbed him out there.
It was a vending machine. She D3 husband.
Well,
Yes,
I'm
I
trying to shorten it a little bit.
My life changed still, but yeah, I would. And as a matter of fact, my husband and I, we connected while I was singing in a coffee house and in Oklahoma, in Norman, Oklahoma. I was living there for a while, and we married, and we had 3 children. And at one point, we moved to Illinois, Chicago, and I always felt something was missing when we moved from Oklahoma to Chicago, and until I started playing at some coffee houses in Chicago, and that's what was missing. I needed to play music. And the kids would come and listen to me play in the coffee houses, and it was just part of our lives.
So, you recorded 2 albums?
I recorded one album, Moment
One?
by Moment, and it was songs that I had written.
Okay. Is that still floating around? I would love to
No,
hear that.
Not really, but I'll remember you.
All right. Sounds good.
Floats
'Cause-
around moment to moment, just
yeah. So your eclectic tastes were reflected in what you played around the house. The kids going to the coffee shop.
Right.
We can start to see the seeds of a little bit of something. But Madisen, you actually sort of kept music at bay for a little while. You were looking at all sorts of other creative pursuits, including writing fiction.
Yeah, well, a big thing I wanted to do since the age of like 7 was my uncle is an actor, which is her brother. It's Isaiah Whitlock Jr. He's from that show The Wire and a bunch of other random movies, Spike Lee films, and I wanted to do that because at a young age I saw my uncle on screen. We would go see him in the actual theater, and that engaged with also with writing, like you said, fiction. I just would write different sorts of stories, and music was always her thing. So I never wanted to really do that, and I started randomly plucking on a guitar, throughout high school. But I was like, I'm not doing this. This isn't. But then I started writing, some of those fictional stories and adding it in, and I started to realize all of the elements of what I loved creatively could be put into musicianship, and I just loved that. And it was like a light sort of went off, and I just started joining her in the coffee shop and sharing some of these ridiculous songs. And
It was great.
and I never wanted to. She always wanted me to. She was like, play that song. And I was like,
Well, your
that's not
early
ready.
songwriting was to get laughs in high school.
Yeah, that was it. Because I had I had songs like about trying to go out on a date but you can't afford it and stuff. And like I think the opening line of the song I wrote was, "Excuse me, miss, I don't mean to be rude, but you and me spells Chinese food. People say I'm a goody two shoes. All I really want is a little bit of mooshu pork on the tip of my fork." It was like that. And I used to love writing stuff like that. And
Eventually, people go back and they pick up songs that they've written earlier in their career for later albums. So you might
this
just
is going to be
I
a
think
little
so.
collaboration with Weird Al.
I think it'd be great.
So you occasionally sitting in, giving your mom a break at the coffee shop, performing a few songs. Next thing you know, you're playing a little bit together. Next thing you know, it's like you're playing a lot together. Next thing you know, people are asking for the original songs. This grew very organically.
Yes,
Correct,
it did.
Correct. It was never. There's hardly a moment that I can remember where it was a big idea moment. It was really just sort of kept growing and growing, and we didn't want to play directly in Kansas City for a while. We wanted to just play all of the surrounding cities, the little coffee shops, and then finally we were like, let's go play at Record Bar, and let's go see if we can hold an audience or anything, and then it just grew from there.
So when you started to collaborate, Ruth, you'd played with other people in the past.
Yes, I have.
How did Madisen stack up? How did you feel about it?
Oh, I felt awesome. I felt great. Because I think it's because it's in the DNA or something, and I liked the way you wrote. I liked the way you thought. I mean, I liked how he presented his music, and it was a natural fit when we did play together. Even on the guitar, he's following me with guitar leads or whatever. It was always what I wanted, and I could never hardly get others to do that. But when he started doing it, I thought, yeah, there he is. He's got the lead down. He's got what I'm thinking, yeah. And I think we do that both, like I hear something, and he says, oh, Mom, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that. So you keep that. So I enjoy playing and singing with Madisen. I really do.
So when you decided to do it seriously, he became the taskmaster. He'd bring the coffee.
Yes, you're right.
And then it was to the dining room table.
yeah.
And if there's an inanimate object that's a character in this story, it's that dining room
The
table.
dining room table. And I did bring the coffees, yeah.
You did. He
Every
would bring
day after
coffees.
work, 2 coffees, sitting down, let's write music and play.
Let's play. Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's play some now if we could. Madisen Ward and the Mama Bear here on the bridge.
different arrangements. You never sang the truth. Hot coals, cobwebs, and a pint of 90 proof. They ain't rich and you're ashamed of it. Broken points of view. Now we're burning in the rain, chasing a memory. Got us flooded with the flame, can't let it die. We're both dirty to escape, that's what you said to me. Turning courage into shame, so tell me why. I've been through hell and back alive. Run home to your mama and ask her what to do. Find a way to break the drama, man. Ain't no time to lose. Ice cold black lungs in a room to watch the news. Lead the way into your suffering, put yourself to use. Now we're burning in the rain, chasing the memory. Got us flooded with the flame, can't let it die. We're both yearning to escape, that's what you said to me. Turning courage into shame, so tell me why. I've been through hell and back alive. Now we're running in the rain, chasing the memory. Got us burning with the flame, can't let it die. We're both yearning to escape, that's what you said to me. Turning courage into shame, so tell me why. Now we're burning in the rain. Got us burning with the flame, can't let it die. We're both yearning to escape, turning courage into shame, so tell me why. I've been through hell and back alive. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na, na na na.
Madison Ward and the Mama Bear, that is Hell and Back, one of the songs from their new album, The Radio Winners. It's a standout track, but I have to say, a lot of times with an EP, you feel like, okay, they got one song here and the rest of it is filler. Yours is packed. It's loaded. There's just one
Thank
great
you.
song after another.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
You know, you mentioned that show over at the record bar, and it had to feel like, I know that there were intermediary steps in there, but just the speed that you guys took off just from the record bar. Well, the way that you put it, Ruth, is I went from a kitchen to David Letterman.
That's right.
You know
Exactly. I just woke up and, oh, you're in the David Letterman show. How in the world? Like, where did this
Walked
come
out the door
from?
and there he was.
I really love the fact that you rock that KCT shirt too,
Oh
Madison.
yeah, definitely. It just felt very, you know, everybody back home, you know, our world, this world here, was just supporting us and championing us, and you know, and we could feel it right before we were about to go out there. We could really feel just a bunch of people just tuning in and telling us, I mean, as much as we love you guys, it scared the crap out of us not doing Letterman, but the people that were actually just behind us, and so it felt great to be able to kind of wave back home. So
And that
Right,
was
they
a-
all wore colorful socks.
yeah.
That was huge.
She's a big
Everybody had on
colorful
their
sock
socks.
person.
We all had colorful socks, so
Yeah.
it was a connection.
Including
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah. So that was a period too when Letterman's ratings were through the roof because everybody knew that he was going to be leaving the show pretty quickly.
Right.
Just a few days before he ended up.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing time. I always kind of joke about how, like, all the young kids these days, I can be like, hey, I was on Letterman. They're like, hell, because he's gone now. I was like, he had just 10 more years in him. I was like, I was on Letterman. Oh, cool.
You also had a real treat. You got to open for B.B. King.
Wow, that was awesome. That was our first really blow us out of the boat moment.
Yeah.
When my manager said, hey, you guys want to open for B.B. King? I thought, really? At the Midland? I thought, really?
Yeah.
Just the two of us,
Yeah.
on stage. And it was so early, and I think it was before, the papers were even signed as far as being on the label that we were on. So it was that was one of the earliest things we had ever done. And I don't even think we played all the songs we played on that stage. I don't think even people in charge had heard them or anything. We sort of just went out there and just said, hey, let's just do what we do in the coffee shop. And it was great.
Yeah.
So did you get a chance to say hi?
We wanted to really bad, but his handlers, they were like
Very protective.
very protective.
health was
At the time,
declining, too.
his health was in decline, really in decline.
It was his second to last show.
Second to last show ever, yeah.
He did give you a shout out, though.
Did he?
Yeah, well, he said, I think it was, let's see, what did he say? He said, give it up for my sister's boys band.
No. Okay, so here's the story of that.
Okay.
Is that there was a guy on stage who's playing with sax, and he's a part of the horn section. And he said, everybody give it up for behind me. That's my sister's boy over there. And everybody just, kind of goes like, oh, hey. But I remember her brother was there saying, which one? Because there was a bunch of them up there. He's like, which one's the sister's boy? So it became this long-running joke. And whenever we went on tour, we called our tour My Sister's Boy Tour.
Okay, all right. You have had a lot of celebrity run-ins. Public Enemy's Chuck D came up to you at South by Southwest.
Yeah,
That
that was
was neat.
incredible.
There are a couple that I thought were even more maybe meaningful to you, Ruth. You all performed on Jules Holland. And James Taylor was another guest, and
Yes.
I know you've been a big fan of him.
Yes.
And he stood just a few feet away while you performed. What was
Yes.
that like?
Oh, that was pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, James Taylor, that was awesome. And Madisen, you and James Taylor got to have a little dialogue.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask him a question that I thought nobody was asking him. So I know he was in that movie Two-Lane Blacktop a long
Yeah.
time ago, and I love that movie. So I just said, was that really you driving all those cars in Two-Lane Blacktop? And he said, oh yeah, most of them, yeah. And I thought that was amazing. And we were like, hey, we're from Kansas City, home of the great barbecue. He said, yeah, not as good as South Carolina, but and I said, bye.
You walked right into that one, didn't you? Yeah.
Seen fire and rain, and I'm out.
He's a nice guy, nice man.
Another one of your heroes, Janice Ian.
Oh, yeah. You really want to know about that?
Oh, I've got one more that's even worse. So,
Oh no.
No, Janice Ian, I remember back in the day in the 70s, she had an album called Between the Lines, and I used to listen to it over and over and over again. And plus I learned a lot of the songs, and she was, yeah, I don't know, I was really affected by her music. Well, since I got in this business, I got to meet her. Not only did I get to meet her, we went out to dinner together. Not only did we go, and then she wrote an autobiography that I read, and so we connected really huge, and we're friends to this day, and we're hoping to do a collaboration together.
Wow.
Her and I together, yeah.
Wow.
So it's just kind of weird how, and I'll probably cry through the whole thing, but it's just kind of weird how, somebody that you really admired, and then all of a sudden, you become friends and you do a collaboration. As a matter of fact, I just emailed her just yesterday.
Wow.
So, but she's
still on AOL, actually.
Way to out her, Madison.
I remember when we were all driving in the van, just we were going from whatever city, and she had really wanted to meet Janice Ian the day before, and I just woke up in the van, and everybody was like, "Shh, be quiet." I said, "What?" And they were like, "Your mom's on the phone with Janice Ian." I said, "Janice Ian?" I said, "What? Pull over."
no, it's cool. She's a major down to earth person.
Okay, Ruth, tell us about you and Robert Plant.
Another collaboration.
Yeah.
No.
I would not be surprised.
No, I don't know. Where were we at?
We were at Bonnaroo.
Bonnaroo, and
I
he was
think.
just walking, and I said, "Hey, I'm Ruth with Madison Ward and Mama Bear," and he introduced himself, and We had a little small chat, not the major, but he's a nice man. You know, it's so weird. You meet these people when you think limousines and all this stuff, and they're not like that at all. They're just as down to earth as the next person.
Yeah.
I remember
He's
she had met him, and I really wanted to go chat with him too. I was like, oh man, I need to do it right now. This is my moment. And I walked over. I was like, hello. And then like him and his whole crew were like, Robert's going on stage right now. We can't. And I was like, oh my! I like just melted. I almost died. I was like, so if anything, he probably doesn't like me, but I think he likes her a lot.
Well, everybody says he's super nice.
He is. He is a nice guy.
And I have to say, you all, I started the interview with this, but you all are so incredibly nice. I think like I said, I felt like I was part of your family the first time we ever met. And that's just a rare gift too. And the new EP, The Radio Winners, is spectacular. They're going to be performing again September 25th with the record company over at the Madrid. We'd love to hear another song if we could.
Thank you.
Rough edges, breathe breathless, try to forget that we're changing. Feel so low in slow motion, waiting at the station. Time will tell where we belong. Holding on, just holding out. We all wait for morning, but it never comes at midnight. We need something more, a city full of lights to feel alive. I know it looks so dark, but with you here on my arm, it's a walking hard. We believe everything we need is right here underneath the sky. We've been here for so damn long, right around, just getting by. We all wait for morning, but it never comes out at midnight. We need something more, a city full of lights to feel alive. I know it looks so dark, but with you here on my arm, it's a walk in the park.
Madison Ward and the Mama Bear. That's Walk in the Park from the new EP, The Radio Winners. It's a great one. Again, the Chicago Sun-Times says a contender for Album of the Year. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure. Of course, that's available digitally now, and it's going to be out on vinyl this Friday. Madison Ward and the Mama Bear, September 25th with the record company over at the Madrid. This has just been a total joy.
Likewise.
This has made
Been a
my
pleasure
day,
for us.
made my week, made my month.
Same here. Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks
you
so
for
much
all the
for-
support you guys give us, and we love you
Really?
guys. Yeah.
Well,
A
and
lot.
you know, it's that's nice of you to say, but this is a station that's dedicated to artists, and so anything that we can do for somebody, particularly from our own town, that's doing things at the level that you are, it's our pleasure, and all props go to you. So,
Thank you.
Much.
thanks so much, Madison Ward and the Mama Bear, live today on the Bridge.